In today's video, we're going to concentrate on the open club face and how your weight shift can either help you get rid of that open club face, or it can also be the main cause of why your club face remains open. If you don't know if you have an open club face, if you're a right-hander, you hit the ball right. Right? You can even have a perfect path and you can still hit the ball right. If you struggle with shanking the golf ball and you feel like your swing's pretty good, you could just have a super open club face as well. So, the open club face is basically for all those people who struggle with hitting the ball to the right today, which unfortunately is the majority of the golfers. So we're going to talk about how that weight shift, if you start moving it correctly, can help you fix that open club face. Hey, if you're brand new to our channel, make sure you subscribe. If you hit the subscribe button and the little bell button right next to it, you'll see all our future videos that we have posting. We try to get to it every week. Today's video is based off of a student that I'm working with right now, that we got his club face to be perfectly square on top, but the problem was he was shifting his weight incorrectly, and that incorrect weight shift always led to his face being open, even if his backswing and downswing were really good for the most part. Okay, so we're going to focus on that today, because unfortunately I think there's a lot of golfers out there who struggle with how they move their weight or move their pressure, and that is the result of what keeps their face open. So before we talk about that open club face and the weight shift, I want you to double check your grip, because that could also be a reason why you struggle with the open club face. So from face on, your left hand is going to be what controls the club face if you're a right-handed golfer. All right, we want this V that you create with your fingers to go to your right shoulder. It's pretty simple. Okay, if it is very weak and you hold it here and you extend it, it's going to open. If it's very strong, so you turn it way over to the right, hold it next to your body, and you push it out, it closes. It's pretty simple. So if you take a neutral grip and you extend it out, it doesn't move. Once again, if you make it really strong and you extend it out, it closes. So very simple. Just double check your grip. If you, let's just go with what it should look like to the top of the backswing. All right, and if it looks perfectly square and all that stuff is going good, you don't have to fix your grip. It comes down to how you close it on the way down. So the checkpoints that you're looking for is when you take it back to call position 2, you want it to match your spine angle. So the toe is going to be a little bit down. It can be straight up also. All right, just never towards the sky. All right, so your right hand or right arm should always kind of feel like it's on top of the golf club at that point in time. Then as you set it up, the club face is going to be basically pointing that way more. If you struggle with slicing it, you're going to try to get this wrist to possibly bow a little bit more, so it faces a little bit more towards the camera. And then when you get to the very top of the backswing, all right, it should match your left forearm. If you struggle with slicing it, you can make that bow that wrist a little bit more, get it a little bit more towards the sky. That's going to be more of a Jordan Spieth. And then Dustin Johnson, he is super closed on top. All right, any of those things are going to help you with the open club face. So if you are taking it back, it looks open here. You can see the back of the club on the camera, and then at the top, it looks like it's really toe down or hanging out there. Your face is way open, and even if we talk about that weight shift here in a second, you're still going to hit the ball right, even if you shift your weight correctly. Okay, so you need to double check those points in your backswing to make sure it's square. So we're going to talk based off of we are square at the top of the backswing, just like the lesson that we worked on with a certain individual. All right, so we got him away from being here to here. All right, and we worked on his left wrist a lot. All right, and then we took it to the top, and he was still square there. And then we got him finally to feel like it was really bowed to get it to the top. I used a tool called the hanger. It's just a really simple swing aid. Usually it's used to help you find a very square face. We used it to teach him what a very closed face felt like, because the feel versus real is really funky in golf. So it felt really closed to him, but it was actually really square once we used it. And then, of course, if you use an align or any type of aid, you put it on for a few swings and you take it off, put it on, take it off, because you don't want to be dependent on that aid over and over again. So we use the hanger to help him learn what a very closed face felt like to him, when in fact it was very, very square. Okay, so he had that very square face, but he was still hitting the ball right. right? And this is where the weight shift comes into it. So this might be some of us. We really tend to keep our head still because we feel like we've been told, keep your head still, keep your head down, don't move your head. So he would get to the top. He didn't really reverse tilt, but he just kind of posted on his front leg. And the only problem with posting on his front leg is when it came time to close the face on the way down, his body got a little bit confused and his hands got a little confused. So he'd post on his front leg and then he'd come down, and so everything would be square and he'd come down. He'd shift his weight to his back foot and that face would open up, and he was like, when our first lesson, he was like 25 degrees right with the club face. Okay, so everything looked like he was hitting a huge flop shot because his body was messing his ability to close the face down. Even if he was throwing it down, really trying to close it, it was either a chunk or it just didn't work out really well just because he worked on keeping his head very still. We got it very square on top, and then he'd fall backwards and his wrist would release the opposite way. So instead of kind of knuckling down, it's because his body was basically fading away from it. His club would release early, the face would go open, he'd finish on his back foot, and everything would go right. I mean, his path was very, very, very small. It wasn't in to out, it wasn't out to in, it was very, very small. So if we looked at like the flight scope, his path, it wouldn't be enough for you to even really make a whole change with a swing. But the fact that his face was so far up, that's why he struggles, and that's why a lot of us struggle out there. And what starts to happen is we start to make more compensations for the ball going right, and sometimes I can understand the feeling of trying to almost hang back on it. Then you really have to flip at it, but not only does it slow you down, but it causes you to hit behind it, and it causes you to have that open club face. So this is your fix. If you're very square on top, you need to get to that feeling. And it's okay if you let your head kind of move this way, or just make sure your body's kind of moving across the ball a little bit. So you get to the top and you're really square, you're going to feel a lot of weight in that right leg, right? We're not going to sway out of here. But basically the angle of the leg where it sits is you're going to maintain it. The weight's going to go into the heel. And then on the way down, this is where you start to feel, everybody feels a little bit different. Some people feel like the right hand closes it. I feel like the left hand closes it because I know the left hand dominates that club face a little bit more than the right. All right, so I get to the top and I start to move down. Okay, the knuckles start to go more towards the ground, start to move a little bit more forward, and then right here, knuckles really go down, body turns, and the face is square. Right? So you usually make impact looking like that. If you make impact like that, it's really hard to get the knuckles down to get everything to work correctly to hit that face square. So you're just going to work on taking it to the top, getting all those square positions, knuckles going down, weight shifting forward. Now when you're shifting your weight, so it goes to the right, when you shift your weight, it's more of this type of motion with your body and not that type of motion with your head. That's where you need to make sure that you're doing it right. So you're going to shift your weight forward, head kind of stays back, lower body can kind of move that way, more towards the target, and then your head's going to feel like it's over your right kneecap versus left foot, right? And then you'll have more square positions. But if you start to fade away from it, it's going to go right. If you learn to shift your weight correctly with the square face, you will create more speed. You will hit the ball a whole lot better. All right, so this video is totally made for all those people who tend to hang back on their right foot and they struggle with snap hooks. Every once in a while, if you get really handsy, but most of the time it's going to be a block, especially when the club gets longer. With the driver, longer irons, even like your 5, 6, 7 iron, it's going to be really a lot of stuff going to the right. We can get away with a lot of mistakes the more lofted the club is. All right, so you might be pretty good with your pitching wedge 9, 8 iron, and then it slowly goes downhill. All right, you just got to make sure that your club face is square, the right points in the backswing. That's where I would start, and then you need to make sure you're shifting your weight correctly so that face can actually close. Right? It's going to be really hard to move the opposite way and get your wrists and everything to time it consistently for you to hit it the way you want to hit it. Right? So if you get that club face square, you shift your weight correctly, shift your momentum correctly, you create more speed. You're going to start trapping the ball, hitting it a little bit further, a little bit lower with more spin, and everything gets a whole lot better. So if you're somebody who struggles with this, maybe check this out, videotape yourself, and see if it is something that helps you.